2022 quickly becoming the year the Moon Boys' bodies went limp and their hearts went cold. Bitcoin has endured its most cataclysmic week, potentially, since Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue and massacred an entire continent nearly 6 million years ago. But are we closer than ever to the end of the carnage, the end of the pain, and the beginning of Pumpy Town confirmed? Or are we just getting started? Bitcoin has just suffered its inarguably most devastating week in years. Some say since the beginning of mankind itself. And the price of Bitcoin has taken a hit along with the rest of the crypto market. With the fears in the crypto space higher than ever, is something about to bust. Make sure to subscribe, turn those ghost notifications so never misses absolutely time-sensitive alerts. And without any further splodoo, magoo, let's dump in to this video. With Bitcoin right now, not at a good price, a little above 16,000 at this very second, there is so many things to be watching. And first of all, let's take a look at the DXY, which as we know began collapsing last week. Okay, it started breaking out of this parabola, out of this gigantic ascending broadening wedgie of the last year plus. It started breaking out. And the stock market started doing well. It started breaking out to the upside as well, as you all know. Which at this point, it is seemingly continuing. It's not a insanely pumpy day, but absolutely the momentum and the ability for the stock market to rally over the next few weeks absolutely remains present. We've, as you can see highlighted right here, with this move, we have gotten a bullish cross for the very first time since the beginning of August. So well over 3 months ago was the last time we got this signal. I think it's very, very, very possible over the next few weeks the stock market continues a rally. Not a bull market at all, but a relief rally. And at which point, if we come back up to this $4,300 level, depending on what happens there, if we would even get up there, then we can reevaluate and look at that. But it looks as though the stock market can have it's greenlit for potentially a few weeks of upside, some relief after pretty dumpy times. And the DXY, more importantly, as you can even see right here, we have seen this parabolic curve break down for the very first time in nearly 2 years, roughly about a little over a year and a half. We have been just going parabolic after parabolic move. And this is the very first time we've broken down from that. And it's no coincidence that that happened also when we got our very first positive CPI reading last week. Very first. We've been waiting all year for one that comes in a little bit lower than expectations. We finally get one. The same week that Sam diddles the crypto market. SBF diddles the crypto market. So just a little bit unlucky there. But if we take a look at Bitcoin itself, right now, we are in absolutely a very dumpy spot. Now, one of the big things about this, we're down like almost 30% in just the last week. Okay, so that's very big. That's huge. Now, one of the things about this, though, is that this had essentially nothing to do with chart patterns and nothing to do with the CPI. It had everything to do with the fact that one of the largest exchanges in the world was basically trading assets like Pokemon cards, and they were just being incredibly reckless. And as we all know, that didn't end up too well. And the point of me saying that, though, is that there was a fundamental reason why crypto crashed. And it should have crashed, right? It absolutely deserved to crash based on what FTX was doing. And now the only reason that we're held down, in my opinion, right now, and not back up right above 20K, is because of fear of contagion, fear of other exchanges continuing to collapse. Actually, even like 5-10 minutes ago, before I even started this video, I believe there was another smaller fund that also said that a lot of their assets were on FTX as well, and they were unable to recover most of them. And again, it's very likely a lot of smaller players, probably many. As you can see, if you looked at how involved FTX was in the entire crypto space, they were very, very, very involved in a lot of ways with a lot of projects, a lot of other funds, a lot of other entities. And so that is, again, I think a lot of this is purely based on fear. And some of that fear is rightfully there. Like, there's a reason that people are fearful. And it's a pretty valid reason, because there is a lot of contagion. It's very likely many people were affected. Now, the big question, though, is most of the contagion already exposed? Are most of the players already exposed for their losses and their entanglement with FTX? Because, in my opinion, if the answer is yes, then Bitcoin will recover much faster and very quickly to at least 20,000, considering also the macro environment, which is stocks potentially getting ready to have a multi-week run, and the DXY potentially breaking down for maybe an even longer amount of time than a few weeks, right? Now, the DXY obviously could have some moves to the upside over the next couple of months, but ultimately, if this mega structure has broken down, then that will have a longer term effect on everything. But again, looking at Bitcoin itself, one thing that I think is very interesting here too is that right now, I remember this. So back in 2018, we topped out. Well, actually, for Bitcoin, it was the very last 2 weeks of 2017. We topped out right underneath 20K. I think we got to 19.9 here on Coinbase. Got rejected. And then we spent 3 weeks wicking up to exactly about 16.5 right here. And you can see that right here. We spent a few weeks wicking up there. And then ultimately, after getting rejected there, it was a straight dump after getting a very quick rejection off 20K. Almost 20K, and then spending a few weeks trying to get back above 16.5. After that, rejected straight down to 5,800. That's huge, right? So from 20K for a week or two, and then battling for almost an entire month at 16.5, exactly where we are now. After failing that, straight to Dumpy Town, straight to about sub 6K. And you can see that horizontal line there, very big. We spent a week actually bouncing off that during the beginning of the bull market in November of 2020. And we're revisiting that exact same level right now, which is also the bottom of this very long-term, this long-term falling wedge. This pretty much started forming, well over a year ago. And that's right where we're holding right now. And I'm curious, what is your sentiment? Do you think that the dump is just getting started? Or do you think that the sentiment is finally so bad enough, that a real actual relief is more possible now than ever? And my opinion is this. I think that is true if more exchanges don't keep collapsing. So for the past year, the story has basically been watch the DXY, watch the stock market, see what they do. Now, something new that we have to watch out for that will have effects in the immediate short term for the price of these assets is the fear of, okay, which exchange is going to collapse? Okay. So we have a few more factors besides the DXY, besides the SPX, and there are other smaller factors as well. But the real new big factor is there going to be, another tweet storm? Let's keep in mind, Twitter is basically Twitter has been the place where all of this has happened. Twitter is where CZ announced his FTT token dump. It's basically Twitter has been the driving force for all of this market dumping, and it absolutely completely impacted the run up back at the beginning of the bull run as well. So Twitter is its own analysis that you need to factor into. Twitter is something that if you're invested in crypto and you're not using Twitter, it's almost like, well, you're exiling yourself from such a critical part of the market. I don't really like Twitter that much, but it's a necessary component of the markets. I don't really enjoy doing it that much, but if I'm in crypto, I find it I have to use it. So I always find it funny when I get comments like, no, I don't use Twitter. It's like, okay, well, you're kind of missing out on a large part of the market and what influences these price moves. But anyway, the point is, I think that this has come to an end in terms of the dumpiness for the short term, if we don't get more exchange collapses. But nobody can know by tomorrow what's going to happen over the next 12 hours in terms of if there's another insolvent exchange or another bankrupt entity that had custody on FTX or something. You can't know that until it's already out. In terms of more natural sell pressure, it's basically already exited the market. And again, further evidence of this is the fact that what happened last week, and Bitcoin is still at 16K. This is a huge event by all accounts. everybody acknowledges that this is basically the craziest they've ever seen, the dumpiest, the worst sentiment, the most fear, the worst look to the mainstream that crypto has been ever. So it's pretty bad. The damage is absolutely done. There's going to be regulation. There's going to be things that come out of this. But the point is, we had a really, really, really dumpy last week. But the price, it absolutely did dump, but it's still at 16K. That is pretty remarkable. Considering everything. And as well, something I absolutely think is interesting to me is that Edward Snowden rarely tweets about this, but he said back in March, this is the first time in a while I felt like buying Bitcoin. That drop was too much panic and too little reason. And today he said, for the first time in a while, I'm starting to feel the itch to scale back in. And back when he said that last time was a really good place to accumulate before we went on a bull market. I don't think we're about to enter a bull market, but I do think that the market will equalize sooner than later to back at least around 20K. Ideally, I still think that there's so much pressure the market should have a quick move to 30K over these next few months. Two things. If the DXY stops pumping, which we actually finally started to get, but unfortunately, I don't have to keep repeating it, we know why that we didn't get a pump in crypto, because now we have that second factor of are the biggest exchanges in the world about to collapse? Because obviously, I mean, let's do the math. That's not good. If the largest exchanges just start collapsing, like FTX, then of course Bitcoin won't pump. To get the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn those ghost notification numbers, these absolute time-sensitive alerts. Everything I told you to do. That's for me.